It started with the scream that didn't sound human. Too long, too cracked, too full of a kind of hunger that made Asher stop mid-step on the narrow mountain trail and press his hand against the cold bark of a pine tree. The wind around him died. Even the crickets' constant companions through hours of night hiking went, suddenly, unnervingly silent. He was halfway through a night hike to the old fire lookout tower above the valley, a path hikers usually avoided after sunset, but Asher wasn't like other hikers. Night was his escape. Shadows didn't scare him. People did, and the forest, with all its silence and solitude, felt safer than the world he lived in. But the scream changed. Everything got. His breath fogged out into the cold air as he slowly lowered his flashlight toward the direction it had come from, a deep hollow between two ridges, thick with undergrowth, darker than the rest of the forest. Nothing moved. Nothing breathed. And yet Asher felt watched, not the way you feel when an animal tracks you. This was heavier, more precise. It felt like eyes were following the pulse in his throat. He swallowed hard and forced himself forward, boots crunching over frost-hardened dirt. He didn't want to stop. Stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant fear catching up. So he moved, faster now, deeper into the trail, letting the rhythm of his footsteps drown out the unease. But the forest wasn't done with him. After 10 minutes of climbing a steep, rocky incline, Asher noticed something strange: pine needles scattered in a perfect circle across the path, as if someone had knelt and arranged them intentionally. In the center lay a single object, a hiking compass. Its metal surface was dented, scratched, almost torn apart. The glass was shattered inward, not outward, like something had crushed it with its fingers. Asher crouched, shining his light closer. Whatever had crushed the compass had claws. He should have turned back. He knew that. Every instinct in his body whispered it. But the tower was close. He could feel it. And Asher's stubbornness ran deeper than his fear. So he stood, brushed off his hands, and kept going. The air shifted as he climbed. The temperature felt wrong, warmer in some pockets, freezing in others, as if he was moving through invisible zones of heat and cold. The forest also grew denser, branches knitting together overhead like ribs in a cage. The moonlight disappeared completely. 10 minutes later, the trail curved sharply along a cliff edge, revealing a narrow ledge overlooking the valley. The wind here was violent, pushing and pulling at him with unpredictable force. But his flashlight illuminated something that made his blood freeze. Footprints, but not human. Massive. Imprints pressed deep into the soil, as if something heavy, very heavy, had walked there recently. The prints were vaguely animal-like, but disturbingly wrong. Elongated. Two wide claws that dug several inches into the dirt. Whatever made them had walked upright. The line of prints moved up the path ahead, disappearing around the bend toward the old fire tower. Asher's lungs tightened. For the first time that night, he considered turning back. But then he saw a faint light flicker far ahead, right where the tower should be. A warm golden glow, as steady as a lantern. Someone was there. Maybe they needed help. Maybe they were the source of the scream. He tightened the straps of his backpack and walked, but the light didn't get closer. It stayed the same distance ahead, no matter how far he walked, and with every step he took, the forest grew quieter, so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat echoing inside his ears. That's when he noticed the smell. It drifted toward him on a soft breeze, wet earth mixed with something metallic. Blood, fresh blood. His stomach tightened as he slowed his pace, scanning the trees and trail for movement. The smell got stronger with every step, until it was so overpowering he had to cover his nose. Then he reached the clearing. Dead leaves blanketed the ground, but they were disturbed, scattered as if something had rolled through them violently. A torn backpack lay at the base of a fallen log. Its straps were shredded clean through a precise, vertical rip straight down the center. Too clean for an animal. too violent for a human. Beside the backpack, half buried under leaves, was a shoe, a hiking boot, still laced, untouched, except for the fact that the foot inside it was still there. Asher stumbled backward, nearly slipping in panic. The air changed behind him. Slow breathing, too deep, too long, echoed through the trees, so close it felt like something was leaning just inches from the back of his neck. The kind of breath that carried heat and hunger. He spun around, flashlight shaking. Nothing, only trees. But the breathing didn't stop. It just moved to his left now, then behind him, then to the right, circling him, watching him, testing him. He backed away slowly, eyes scanning every shadow. The breathing stopped. The silence pressed in, then dash, crack. A branch snapped somewhere behind him, then another, and another dot. Footsteps, dot slow, heavy footsteps, approaching through the trees. They didn't sound hesitant. They sounded deliberate, confident. Asher raised his light toward the movement. His mind told him to run, but his legs refused to move, as if they were waiting for something his brain didn't want to. Witnessed that the beam of his flashlight shook violently as it captured a glimpse of something moving between the trunks, something tall, too tall, shoulders that nearly brushed the lower branches, arms that hung low, ending in elongated shapes he couldn't fully see, and eyes, too pale, white, reflective eyes, not glowing, reflective like a predator caught in a camera flash. The creature didn't blink. It didn't flinch. It didn't hide. It stepped forward, slowly, deliberately, letting the moonlight catch the edges of its body. Asher saw patches of fur, dark, wet, matted, and something like a jawline that didn't sit right. Too wide, too sharp, opening slightly as it inhaled his scent. When it exhaled, the breath hit him with the smell he had been trying to ignore, it, and blood. Asher ran. He didn't think. He didn't look back. He just ran. His boots thundered against the frozen ground, slipping on rocks, skidding on roots. Branches slapped his face, tore at his jacket, clawed his skin. The forest blurred past him in streaks of black and gray, but behind him came the sound-heavy, rhythmic footsteps, keeping pace with terrifying ease. Every few seconds, he risked a glance over his shoulder, and each time he saw those eyes, unblinking, closer than they should have been, closer every time he looked. He didn't know how long he ran. Maybe minutes, maybe hours. At some point, the trail split and he took the left path without thought. Bad decision. A dead end. The trail ended at a steep drop, near vertical cliff face plunging into a rocky gorge below. Asher stopped so suddenly, he almost went over the edge. His chest heaved, his vision blurred, his legs trembled. Behind him, the footsteps slowed, stopped. He turned around, flashlight barely hanging in his grip. The creature stood at the end of the trail, blocking the path, towering over the trees. Those pale eyes locked on him with a cold intelligence that made Asher's blood feel like ice. It stepped forward. Asher stepped back, but there was nowhere to go. The cliff edge crumbled beneath one foot. Pebbles fell away into the abyss. The creature tilted its head, studying him with a strange, almost curious expression. And then it spoke, not words. Something more like a rasping growl twisted into a whisper, a warning, or a command. Go back. The sound vibrated through Asher's bones. He didn't understand it. He didn't need to. His brain made the decision for him. He jumped not into the abyss. He jumped toward the only safe direction, off the trail, into a cluster of thick trees to the side, grabbing at branches, roots, anything that would break his fall. He tumbled, rolled, smashed through bushes, dirt filling his mouth. Pain screamed through every limb, but he kept moving, crawling, dragging himself down the slope until he reached a narrow runoff channel. The creature didn't follow, not down the slope, not into the ravine. Its footsteps stopped at the trail above. Asher could hear it pacing, sniffing the air, growling low. But it didn't descend. It was as if something prevented it. Asher didn't stop moving until his muscles gave out. He crawled for what felt like miles, scraping his knees raw, tearing his palms open. Eventually, he collapsed on a bed of wet leaves beside a stream. He didn't sleep. He didn't even close his eyes. He just listened. The forest was alive again. Crickets chirped. The wind whispered through branches. The world returned to normal as if nothing had happened. But Asher knew better. The creature was still out there, watching, waiting, in the old fire tower. He never reached it. But he saw it one last time just before dawn, standing on a ridge far above him, a dark silhouette leaning slightly to one side. In the tower window, something moved, a pale shape, a face, staring down the mountain. Not human. Asher didn't go home that morning. He didn't go down the main trail. He walked for hours through the lower forest, staying off marked paths, avoiding every sound that felt too heavy or too slow. By the time he reached the ranger station, he was shaking so violently the officer on duty thought he was hypothermic. But when they searched for the creature, for the footprints, for the torn backpack, for the screaming, they found nothing except the fire tower, which had collapsed. The ranger's face stayed perfectly still as Asher repeated the details for the third time. The torn backpack, the breathing behind him, the eyes, the collapsing tower that wasn't collapsed. He expected disbelief, maybe mockery, but what he saw instead was fear. A quiet, controlled fear. The kind that belongs to someone who has heard something similar before and wishes they hadn't. When Asher finally stopped talking, the ranger exhaled slowly and stood. Wait here. He went into a back room and shut the door. Asher sat alone in the fluorescent lit station. The world outside still bathed in the dim gray of early morning. His body was shaking uncontrollably now, not from cold, but from the replay of those eyes in his mind, the way they never blinked, the way they followed him with such unnerving calm. The ranger returned 5 minutes later with another man, a much older man with a rigid posture, deep lines on his face, and eyes that looked too tired for someone awake at 6 a.m. He wore no uniform, just a thick wool sweater and boots caked with dried mud. The ranger spoke first. This is Malik. He knows these mountains better than anyone. He wants to talk to you. Malik's gaze settled on Asher with uncomfortable intensity. You said you heard a scream. Asher nodded. And you saw footprints. Very large ones. Another nod. And a tower. Malik's voice dipped lower. A tower that hasn't stood for years. Asher didn't nod this time. He only stared. Malik looked down at the floor for a moment, as if debating something with himself, then sighed. Show me where. The ranger protested immediately. Sir, you can't go up there again, I said. Show me, Malik repeated. His tone left no room for argument. And so, half an hour later, Asher found himself sitting in the back of a battered green Jeep, driving toward the mountain trails he had spent the entire night trying to escape. The forest outside was a different beast in daylight. Sunlight dripped through branches, casting warm patches on the ground. Birds chirped, leaves rustled. The world felt harmless, safe, alive, but Asher knew better. The forest was just pretending. Malik kept his eyes forward as he drove, jaw tight. Asher noticed his knuckles whitening on the steering wheel. You've seen something like this before, Asher said quietly. Malik didn't answer, but the ranger in the passenger seat did. I've heard stories for years. Hikers going missing. Strange sounds at night. But no one has ever described that thing, not like you did. Malik's voice finally broke the silence. There are places in these mountains, he said slowly, that people should not disturb. Asher leaned forward. What do you mean? Malik didn't look back. Some things belong to the dark, and they stay in the dark till someone goes where they shouldn't. The Jeep stopped near the base of the trail. Asher's pulse hammered in his throat as they stepped out. The forest smelled the same as last night: pine, earth, cold air, but the leftover scent of fear in his memory made the trees feel sharper, taller. Watching Malik made him lead. "Show us the compass," he said. Asher walked ahead, maintaining a slow, careful pace. Every crunch of dirt under his boots felt too loud. The sunlight felt thin, like it couldn't fully reach the ground, but after a few minutes of climbing, he found the scattered pine needles, forming the unnatural circle. Except, now, the compass was gone. Not disturbed, gone. The pine needles were still arranged perfectly in that strange, deliberate pattern, but the center was empty. Malik crouched, touching the soil with the tips of his fingers. "Fresh," he murmured. "Someone moved it not long ago." The ranger scanned the trees, eyes wide. "Sir, please tell me this is a person." Malik didn't answer. Instead, he looked at Asher. "Where did you smell blood?" Asher hesitated, then pointed uphill. Malik rose slowly and began walking. The ranger followed, hand instinctively moving to the radio clipped to his chest. When they reached the clearing, Asher's breath hitched. Everything was gone. No torn backpack, no boot, no signs of struggle, no disturbed leaves. Only smooth ground, wiped clean to clean, as if someone had swept the forest floor. Malik crouched again, running his fingers through the soil. "This is wrong," he whispered. Asher stepped backward. I told you what I saw." Malik stood. "Yes, and now I believe you." The ranger swallowed hard. "What should we do?" Malik didn't answer him. He stared at Asher instead. "Where did you fall down the slope?" Asher pointed toward the narrower side of the clearing. Malik walked ahead, inspecting the edge, then the slope, then the trees below. "Nothing," the ranger murmured. "No drag marks, no blood." Malik suddenly turned. "You said it didn't follow you down here? It stayed on the trail." "Yes," Asher said softly. Malik exhaled deeply. "That means something." Asher felt anger rise through his fear. "Enough hints, enough riddles. Just tell me what's happening." Malik eyed the trees around them, as if expecting something to appear any moment. "There's a story," he said quietly. "Older than this forest. Older than these mountains. A watcher. Something that guards the old trails. Something that punishes those who go where they shouldn't." Asher frowned. "You think I was punished for hiking?" "No," Malik replied sharply. "It doesn't hunt hikers. It hunts trespassers." "Trespassers into what?" Asher demanded. Malik looked toward the ridge. "The old fire tower." "But it collapsed." Malik cut him off. "It collapsed 5 years ago after a storm. But the place where it stood, that isn't what matters." Asher felt his skin crawl. "Then what matters?" Malik's eyes locked onto his. "What matters is that you said you saw light there. You saw a structure. You saw someone or something inside." Asher felt a cold shiver run through his spine. "Yes." Malik's voice lowered even further. "Then you didn't just see a creature. You saw the wrong side of the mountain." Asher blinked. "I don't understand." The ranger spoke softly. "He means, you saw something that doesn't exist anymore." A sudden rustle in the trees behind them made all three men turn instantly. The sound was low, heavy, something large brushing against branches. Malik raised a hand, signaling silence. The forest went dead quiet. The rustle came again, closer now. "Back to the trail," Malik whispered. Slowly, they moved as a unit, but the sound followed them, shifting between the trees. Something unseen pacing just out of sight. Asher's flashlight lay useless in his backpack, but even in daylight, the forest seemed too dark under the canopy. Malik stopped abruptly. "Do you smell that?" The ranger inhaled sharply. Blood. The scent wafted through the air. Again rotting meat mixed with iron. Asher's knees went weak. "No," he whispered. "Not again." Malik nudged him. "Stay close." They reached the point where the trail split the same fork Asher had taken last night in panic. Malik inspected the dirt carefully. Footprints, but not Asher's, and not human. Deep imprints like before. Claws gouged into the soilex. This time they were more numerous, more frantic, as if the creature had been pacing, waiting, searching. Asher's breath hitched. I thought it was following me. Malik shook his head. It wasn't following you. It was looking for the one you saw in the tower. Asher felt his blood turn cold. There was someone in the tower. Yes, Malik said quietly, and whatever was in there is not what chased you. A scream cut through the trees, high, sharp, unmistakably human. The ranger froze. That came from the upper ridge. Malik's face went pale. Someone else is up there. Asher felt a surge of terror. What do we do? Malik grabbed the ranger's arm. We go now. They ran not down the trail, but up toward the ridge Asher had seen from below. Every step felt heavier. The forest grew darker, even though the sun was rising. Something heavy moved parallel to them, hidden but unmistakable. Asher could feel it, hear it, but it didn't attack. It was following, hurting them. Minutes later, they reached the ridge just in time to see something vanish between the trees. A shape, pale, human-sized, limping. Asher's voice cracked. That's the figure from the tower. The ranger sprinted forward, Malik shouting after him, "Stop!" But it was too late. The ranger vanished behind the tree line, followed by a sound that would haunt Asher forever. Not a scream, a crunch, a wet, sickening crunch, like bone breaking under pressure. Then silence, then footsteps slow, heavy, deliberate, moving toward them again. Malik grabbed Asher's arm. Run. But the ranger, he's gone. But he might be alive. He's gone, Malik shouted, voice breaking. Asher's mind snapped into survival mode. They bolted downhill, stumbling through bushes, sliding over loose soil, branches tearing at their clothes. Behind them, something massive moved with horrifying precision, keeping pace. Never rushing, never tiring. Asher could feel it studying them, stalking them. By the time they reached the lower forest, Malik pulled Asher into a narrow rocky crevice between two boulders. They crouched inside as the footsteps approached. Closer, closer. Asher held his breath, trembling uncontrollably. Malik covered his mouth gently, whispering, "Don't move, don't breathe." The creature stopped right outside the crevice. A shadow fell over them, massive, jagged, wrong. Asher's heart pounded so hard he thought it would echo. Something sniffed the air long, slow, deliberate. Malik tightened his grip over Asher's mouth. Minutes passed. Then footsteps moved away, slow, heavy. When the sound finally disappeared, Malik exhaled. "We need to leave the mountain," he whispered. "Now, before sunset." Asher nodded weakly, but the forest around them began to darken again. Too early, too fast. Malik looked up, eyes widening. "It's coming back." Malik looked up, eyes widening. "It's coming back." Malik didn't wait for the darkness to settle. He grabbed Asher's arm and pulled him out of the crevice, practically dragging him through the trees. Every sound now felt sharper, branches cracking, leaves whispering, the distant rumble of something moving with purpose. The sunlight above flickered unnaturally, as if something enormous was passing between them and the sky. "Don't stop," Malik whispered. "If it reaches us before we hit the lower valley, it won't let either of us leave." Asher forced his numb legs to move faster. His lungs burned. His ribs ached, but fear kept him running. They followed an unmarked path, one Malik seemed to know by instinct, weaving between jagged rocks and fallen trunks. Behind them, the forest's silence deepened, so complete it felt like sound itself had died. Then the footsteps returned, slow at first, then faster, closer. Something huge broke through the trees, a shape Asher couldn't fully see, moving with a terrifying blend of speed and precision. The ground trembled beneath each step. Malik pulled him down behind a boulder, just as the creature's shadow passed only feet away. Asher dared to look. For a moment. Just when he saw the face. Not animal, not human, something in between. Twisted by hunger and time. Skin pulled tight across long bones. Eyes pale as frost. A mouth too wide, opening and closing like it was tasting the air for them. Malik pressed a hand against Asher's back. "Run when I tell you," he whispered, "and don't look back." Asher shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." "You already left someone," Malik said softly. "Don't make it two." Before Asher could argue, the creature snapped its head toward them. Malik exploded from behind the rock, shouting, waving his arms, throwing stones, anything to draw its attention away. It worked. The creature lunged toward Malik with a speed that defied its size. "Go!" Malik screamed. Asher ran. Tears blurred his vision as branches whipped his face. He could hear Malik yelling, then choking, then nothing. A silence more terrifying than any scream. He reached the lower valley just as sunlight returned, warm and normal again, as if the mountain had taken a deep, satisfied breath. The trail widened. The air felt lighter. Birds chirped lazily in the distance. The world looked ordinary, painfully ordinary. But Asher didn't slow down until the ranger station came into view. He stumbled inside, collapsing onto the cold tile floor as officers rushed to him. They asked questions. He didn't answer. He COULDN, single quotes, because just before he entered the station, he had looked back at the tree line, and standing at the edge of the forest was the pale figure from the tower, no longer limping, no longer distant, watching him with dead, patient eyes, as if it knew this wasn't over, as if it was waiting for night.